New Thought Media Network proudly presents New Thought Men's Community Podcast. Mondays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. With your host, Eamon Duffy. Watch live or anytime on YouTube at New Thought Men's Community. Join Eamon Duffy and his guests as they explore what it is to be a spiritual man today. In partnership with New Thought Media Network. New Thought Men's Community, empowering wholeness, centered in spiritual living.
Hello and welcome to the New Thought Men's Podcast, where we explore what it is to be a healthy spiritual man today. I'm Eamon. It's great to have you with us. Welcome to the New Thought Men's Podcast. I'm Eamon. I am here today with David Ault. Oh my gosh, such a pleasure to be here with you, David. I'm just going to introduce you and then we're going to have a conversation because the stuff that you just talked about was just so powerful and profound. So let me start there. David is a visionary leader in the human potential movement who has been promoting mindfulness, global literacy, and social justice for over 30 years. He's traveled the world as a teacher and heart-centered guide with the sole purpose of bridging our collective forgetfulness into our great collective reawakening. An award-winning author, leadership and personal coach, and global education advocate. He is the founder of the Kaleidoscope Child Foundation, a nonprofit organization that empowers vulnerable children and communities worldwide with sustainable education, life skills, and clean water. As a respected teacher, writer, and columnist, David is the author of the bestseller, Where Regret Cannot Find Me, and the award-winning The Grass is Greener Right Here. Oh my gosh, amazing stuff, David. You are truly an amazing person, and I'm so grateful to just be talking with you today. You just completed your sharing with us for our summit, and just brought so much stuff up. And your topic is what if we have a year to live? And so I'd like to at least start the conversation there. I don't think we'll end there, but that'll at least get us going. I'd like to share just a brief story of my own. I was very active in an ashram in Southern Colorado. And for my 25th birthday, I went for a hike by myself. Not a good idea. I took the ashram dog and wound up hiking up to the top of this hill and then fell and broke my ankle, and I had to crawl off of that mountain literally on my butt and my hands. And it brought that experience of what if you had a limited time to live. Like, serious, I sat there and I cried and I was like, fuck, I'm going to die here. And then I'd like find the motivation to then scoot a little bit further and find the motivation until I finally, I got off the mountain, they found me. But it was a real awakening in that experience of death is imminent on some level. And I really hadn't had that in my life up until then. I mean, I'd have moments, fleeting moments where, as a teenager, you think you're invisible or invincible and, right. and all that. But that was a real awakening around the impermanence of this, physical human experience. Yeah. And it really woke me up and got me on my path and started me on this journey of really questioning of what am I here for? what am I here to do? What is life about? Kind of those ancient philosophic questions. Who am I? What am I here for?
Story.
Yeah.
And
He was great because on my hands and on my butt, I was the same size, so I just followed him right down, and he knew where he was going. He's like, come on.
in a way, that being kind of brought you back
Yeah,
to a new
really did.
and that story I told with the shamans, and I was in Costa Rica, and there was a dog on the property, and I was in a maloka that night in ceremony, and it took a dog to break through a rigidity in me, a survivalist rigidity in me that I didn't even know I possessed. And that was I saw this abuse, this physical violent abuse happening, and I pulled myself out of it. Like I willed myself out of ceremony from that survivalist thing. And the instruction was always, if there's something going on at that level, always go to the shaman. And in that willing myself out of that, which was no small feat, getting up and going, and there was somebody else already there being worked with. And the person that was sort of an assistant who knew me, they knew me there, said, David, are you okay? And I just very robotically said, I'm seeing something and I don't know what to do with this. And the advice ended up being, why don't you go back down to your little mattress and ask the medicine? And I was like, okay. And I'm walking, and I'm in this robotic state. And the person who was in that quadrant, it's like north, south, east, and west, and that quadrant met me halfway. And it was this woman, and she said, David, I want you to know that Galaxy is in your bed. Galaxy was the dog on the property. Galaxy was this beautiful female black lab who was neither
No way. Mine was a black lab too.
Is neither sweet nor mean.
Yeah.
Always working, just this Zen presence. And like, you'd look at Galaxy and she would just be staring off into space. She goes, I want you to know that Galaxy has come into the Maloka and is in your bed. And again, I'm like grogged out, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And she said, I'm just telling you because she's obviously there to work with you, and please be mindful when you lay down. And so I get, sure enough, there's this female black lab on my mattress, and I kind of scoot back in, and she laid her head across my heart. And when I closed my eyes and I did what I was told, which was to ask, medicine, is what I saw true? She then, sorry, I preempted. She then laid her head on my chest, and everything inside me just went. And all of that, the best word I can think of is rigidity, that survivalist thing that I had embraced in order to live, to stay alive and to navigate, which I didn't even know was there. It all fell, not just a little bit, it all fell. And her head was there, keeping my chest breathing. And I tell you, I don't know if I would have reached that point if Galaxy hadn't placed her head on my chest.
Wow. Oh, powerful, dude.
Maybe it was the same dog. The same dog was with you, and then went to Costa Rica.
Right. So funny. And so amazing, to have those, those moments, those brief moments of awakening or possibility even in life. And I know that we've all had them in some way or another, whether it's a car accident or, whatever it is, to be able to have that pause pause in our normal programming to be able to assess, like, what am I here for? What, to ask those, to just that moment to open to those deeper questions of, is this it?
And interestingly, my mind I was filled with shame.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought, how could I have gotten to 60 years old and not remembered this? Like, I was doing a number on myself. Like, how can you call yourself a minister and blah, 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 and have had that so locked up? And it took a while to even flip that part to be compassionate, to go, hey, you survived.
Yeah.
When all of the rest of them didn't, and here you are. And so stop. But it was amazing to me. I try to tell people there's no such thing as wasted time. First of all, again, time is, we know it to be illusion. It's very real. It's relatively real because you're human. And so you use it. We are integrated in it every single day, but there's no such thing as wasting it. And so if that moment were to happen when I was on my deathbed, then that's exactly when it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
There's nothing that, because if we buy into the idea of waste, then we are continuing to sort of fabricate or play into that illusion. And I say that and offer that to people only because I don't want them to dwell in this place of it's too late. There's no such thing as too late.
Yeah. We as long as we're alive, we have that time. And even that, I loved what you said about our pure essence, and we have this humanness. That you talked about, the 5 hindrances to enlightenment that the Buddha talked about, but we have this human condition, and then we also, paradoxically, I know spirit loves paradox because it is everywhere, and to have this pure essence, and to have this human condition coexisting in this same experience is just it is mind-boggling.
And what helps people with that, I've called it my gospel of anyway. Meaning, so there are these paradoxical commandments, they're called. They're misattributed to Mother Teresa, but anyway, they're great. And one of them is, you can spend your entire life building something and it will be destroyed overnight. Build it anyway. Yeah. So it isn't about attaching self to the action. It's, how will you serve? Knowing, just like you said, everything is a paradox. Everything is yin yang. So I'll look at people sometimes. I'll go, there will always be war. Will you be for peace anyway?
Yeah.
And you start to see then what, they call the path of the Bodhisattva, which is our reason for being is to do whatever it is within our skill set, our consciousness, to help alleviate suffering, to help people remember their true essence, which is a form of that waking up, right? And so it's very hard to have people wake up if they don't know that there's always going to be yin yang. That's a part of the movie. Will you get up, dust yourself off, and go out there anyway? Yeah. And when I frame it like that, it sometimes is helpful for people to get what a paradox really is. Yeah. It's like, and so there's personal paradox, and then there's global paradox, and then there's universal paradox. And it's like, oh, okay. So in my world, am I willing to brush my teeth and make my bed, even though I know I'm going to get back in it and I'm going to get, stuff in my teeth? Yeah. So that's a very rudimentary example, but that's kind of what we do. It's like you have to keep doing those things until we get into a place where we don't do them begrudgingly. But the true bodhisattva that's what service is. It's like the work with Kaleidoscope and my kids. It's the poverty and the situations oftentimes are so dire that we can implement something. But if that implementation isn't managed, 24/7, the likelihood that it's going to pivot back, and you do it anyway.
Yeah.
You offer it anyway. There's no way for me to personally keep a child in our school because they don't have the same rules there. So if they're from a village and their parents take them and they put them back on the street to beg in those kinds of situations, it's not that you failed. It's like whatever moment that you had them and whatever moment you gave them something, you get to trust that that moment isn't wasted.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of stuff. And it's like if you love somebody and you get your heart broken, then it's not broken, it's broken open. And so you're going to get out there and you're going to love anyway, even though it's probably going to happen again.
It's going to happen again and again.
And again and again. And there's so much freedom in that.
Yeah.
Gospel of anyway. Let's write a book.
Yeah. I love how this kind of dovetails into, the story that you were talking about, just embracing the human side of us. So with Ram Dass and his adversary, this political person, Caspar Weinberger, who's a politician, who's a politician. And he put his picture on, Ram Dass put his picture on his altar and was like, Buddha, Jesus, honoring Shiva, and then Caspar.
Hello, Caspar. And every time Baba would tell that story, he'd always go, hello, Caspar. And it's just hysterical, but boy, is it effective. And what I love about him so much is that he had so much humor and so much lightheartedness. And he would talk about his neuroses, and he goes, you never get rid of your neuroses. It's just that they don't drive the bus after a while. And it's his invitational energy to just bring people in and to, I was in this Buddhist class and this Rinpoche said, someone went to Albert Einstein and they said, what must it be like to be a genius? Or how does one become a genius? And he goes, affability. And so affability, if you kind of look it up, it's just like courteous. But he said, a true definition of affability is to be able to take the most complex thing and explain it to a kindergartner. And he goes, I'm not a genius unless I can take the most complex thing and explain it to a kindergartner. And that's what Ram Dass has always been for me. He has opened my world so much to multidimensionality and Buddhist traditions and Hindu traditions and all kinds of other things and devotions and practices and very difficult, seemingly difficult things, and made them affable in a way that I'm like, oh, got it. And I'm like, how do I serve in that same capacity?
Yeah. That's I think the ultimate, I think for all of us, I think, or at least my experience is that's one of the huge things that we're here to do, is to be of service to one another. I mean, there can't be 8 billion of us all piled on this one planet to be, to not, and to see what we're seeing and to be going through what we're going through collectively as a society and a global connection to not be of service. That's why I just so appreciate the work you're doing with the kids. That's just so beautiful. And to that, to that struggle, I mean, I think the thing that I love about that story and how I relate it to me anyhow is that shadow work, like Ram Dass saying, hello, Caspar, that shadow work, that's being able to embrace that shadow side and say, yeah, there's a part of me that is, warlike. There's a part of me that's the opposite of everything. And that's, for me, where that paradox come in. And to be able to put it on our altar, whether it's figuratively or metaphorically, to be able to, or, whether it, I think I said that right. Anyhow, dyslexia. How that shows up and how we can love all the parts of ourselves.
Right.
How, we can love the politicians, this day and age, and bless them because, there's a part of me that is that too.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to accept that, we begin to heal that within ourselves, and we heal that within ourselves, then we get to expand that into that collective consciousness, and eventually get to see over time, and I don't know how long, who are we attached to the time,
Yeah.
but we grow and we evolve as a species to be able to have that compassion, and that the Buddhist teachings, the Eastern teachings, the Hindu teachings, all speaking to that. It's that time, we do it anyway.
And
like
the practicality of it, right? So
Yeah.
I'm sure you and I, we both equally heard the whole thing about Carl Jung and the disowned aspects of, that which we are turned off by or offended by, and another is a disowned aspect of us.
Yeah.
And again, the conceptual mind will go, but put the picture on your altar. And there's a practicality to that goes, okay, let's practice. And that to me is the rich part. That's where the rubber meets the road kind of thing, is the practice, the application of it.
And that's the thing that I love about, you were talking about the 5 hindrances to enlightenment, lust and greed, hatred, I'm sorry, what's that third? Agitation, inflammation, sloth and torpor, and then doubt. And I'd just love to hear you talk more about that, because that's total shadow work right there. That's Buddhist shadow work in an extent. How do we deal with this? How do we deal with this very human side of us? We know that we have this pure essence. We know that we have this, cosmic connection, and that we're part of this creative expression of the cosmos, but that we're also paradoxically having this experience of being human and having hunger and having all of, the human stuff that goes on with that.
Well, for me, the best piece of the practice was in understanding that I didn't manifest those conditions or hindrances, per se, that comes with the script. And so, or it's the movie, it's the sandbox that I said. And so I didn't do anything wrong. And I think, first of all, it gets to demystify or break down the myth that I wouldn't feel this way if I was more spiritual or if I was a better person. It's like, no, that's what you were dropped into. So forgive yourself for thinking anything otherwise. And then as you come to realize, oh, okay, I was put into this movie, and in the movie are all these 5 things that are out picturing themselves in all different kinds of scenarios. Am I able to now navigate through all of them, see through them, not become seduced, limited, or affected by them, or own them, and find in my own personal way to be able to transcend them? So agitation, how does one allow that which wants to become agitated to just dissipate? That's practice. And I don't, and I'm not saying that I'm there at all, but I would say that I'm more aware of not identifying it and calling it my agitation. And going, oh, there's the agitation. I was working with someone yesterday in grief and various components of pain. And I know you've probably heard this as well. And I said, what if we looked at it this way? It's not your pain. I said, I'm not taking the pain away, but what if we take for a moment when we step back and we don't call it your pain, but we call it the pain? And everybody else gets dropped into the pool, the swimming pool, the pain, right? And so part of the recovery or part of the transcendence of that is to practice not taking ownership of it, but just observing it, not pushing it away and not grabbing at it, not saying, not becoming so self-identified with it that it becomes yet one more identity, you know? And so it's deconstructing self from these hindrances as saying, oh, well, this is who I am. It's just the thing. And that's a huge help.
Yeah.
When you don't own it. And again, you know, owning it, meaning you're not taking it in as though it's yours, but it is a universal part of being in a dualistic plane of form. And it will never go away. So it's kind of like having coffee with my partner, and we're going, oh, there's always going to be yin yang. So there will always be, you know, we're having this big discussion about war, and and we went, there will always be war. You know, it's just like that's part of the thing. Does it mean that you and I don't advocate? Absolutely not. But watch the way in which the advocacy changes. Recognizing that it's part of the game. I can now go in much, much, much more deeply rooted in that essence into these systemic issues without battling it with the same energy that it's presenting itself. It's like, if you think about, you know, medieval lore, how the knight would be chased by the dragon. And then there was always that moment where the knight turned around and faced the dragon. And the moment that he faced the dragon, that which was the ferocity and the death of the fire dissipated. And it's kind of like, that's what it is for you and I. We don't run away from it, or we don't come into it. It's like David and Goliath, you know, it's like, turn to the Goliath, go and walk in front of it. And what's your method? Meaning, so David, he brought a slingshot. So what's going to be my slingshot when I turn and I face, you know, the limited thinking and the lust and the greed and the covetousness of wanting, and then fearing that I'm not going to have it. What's going to be my slingshot? That I go and I face it and I look at it and I go, okay, you don't own this. You just observe it. It's part of the game.
Yeah. That's the tool.
That's the tool.
I think being able to take it into, you know, my own personal life, it's like driving, being on the road, you know, simple thing that we all do. And depending on whether I'm running late, I mean, they're like, come on, get out of my way. Or if I'm having a nice casual day, I'm like, why are you riding my ass? You know, all of those things, like we are at both ends of that spectrum. Like, and there is, I think, a part within me that recognizes, and this is my slingshot in that situation, is that it's all just really about, you know, the experience, the person's experience. Are you in a hurry? Are you, I remember Dr. Roger Teal used to tell this story about this guy who was honking behind this other guy. He's like, oh, stop doing that. And then finally he goes around him and he has a bloody hand and he was trying to make it to the hospital. It's like, you never know what the circumstances are. And so to act as if, like, yes, oh, how can I support you? You know, and then to just be able to go, yeah, it's okay to not take it on, to not, you know, feel like, oh, I'm offended. You're too close to me, or, you know, you're in my way. You know, that old competition thing. It's like, yeah, how do I truly stand in a place of neutrality in that? And it's a practice. It is a practice. Some days I'm better at it. Some days I'm not. As with all of this stuff, it is in the practice, truly. Yeah. Wow. So I guess, I mean, I hate to bring this conversation to a close because it's so rich. Um, but is there anything, that you can leave us with? Anything that you really want to just impart and share in this moment before we kind of wrap things up?
Well, I said it in the talk portion, but it's really to sit down with the idea that nothing is as it seems,
Mm,
first of all.
mm,
And then the other thing is, what does infinite mean to you?
mm.
It's a word that we use all the time,
Yeah.
particularly in spiritual verbiage, but to actually really contemplate it. So contemplation is such a big Buddhist thing. And so what happens when you contemplate
Mm,
in infinitude as you?
mm,
And you can begin to see that it's got this sort of whisper beckoning to it. Like, if you're really going to contemplate me, why don't you come taste it?
mm,
Meaning, you don't even know the restrictions. You don't even know the finite nature of the way in which you've built these little self-preservation things. And so if you're really going to contemplate me, come on, come meet me. And you'll be surprised then at the things that we confront that have been our ceiling.
yeah.
And I just remember, I loved that statement that what was once your ceiling becomes your floor.
Mm,
And that never, my friend, never stops.
mm,
It never stops
yeah.
up until our last breath. And if you have 1 year to live, how many of those cyclical things where what was something it was your ceiling becomes your floor because you've contemplated infinity,
Mm,
infinitude as you? Because it's like on a dance floor and it wants to partner with us.
yeah. Yeah. Mm. It's that intimate, for me anyhow, it's that intimate connection of the cosmos. Growing up Catholic, I really don't like to use religious terms. And so for me, thinking about the cosmos is a way of being able to speak to that infiniteness, that part of us that is beyond time and beyond space, that will move on, as Ernest Holmes says, spiral upwards into our next greatest possibility. And to know that when we have those moments of jarring awakeness, when we break our ankle, when we have that moment of reality of like, yes, this is it, or I've got this limited time left, to be able to then step into that place of, yeah, and this is only that blink in a moment, and that I am beyond all of this. I am greater. I am that pure essence. I am that divine expression. I am that creative outlet of this universal life that is creating, that is creating galaxies and universes and multiverses and the entirety of the cosmos, of everything in existence. And that piece, when I can get in touch with that, yeah, that's transcending that is maybe enlightenment to a degree, for me anyhow. And
it's the paradox you just said. It's like, I thought, okay, we just told them there's no such thing as wasted time, and then we added on to that. And if you have a year to live, which is a time element, so the paradox of that is take this illusion of a time known as a year and then run with it, as if that infinite nature is so hungry to partner with you, because there's no such thing as a scorecard or what you did before, or the labels or the titles that you have chiseled in stone as being your truth. There's no such thing as that. Don't let that waste this opportunity that's before you. Have fun.
Life, such a precious thing, and to truly live it, Yeah. Oh, David, okay, we're going to do this again and probably multiple times because this is I see such correlations in our journeys together, and I relate so much to your stories and your experiences. I'm just so grateful for the amazing work that you do with people. You can find David at davidault.com, AULT.com. And if you wanted to check out the Kaleidoscope childfoundation.org as well. You just told us at the beginning, before we started doing this, you're actually going to be doing a documentary, that you met a documentary filmmaker, and he's going to be doing this amazing documentary on this work that you've done for so many years in just helping children. And so excited for that. We'll have you back to promote that for sure.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, my friend.
Yes. Love and blessings to you. Thanks for being here today. And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Blessings. I hope you enjoyed this interview from the New Thought Men's podcast. For instant access to all podcast interviews, talks from our summit, men's groups, and so much more, join us at newthoughtmens.community. Thanks so much for being with us today. There's more to come, so stay tuned in.